Good evening. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. So something incredible happened today. I could write a whole film around what happened today. The universe spoke very, very clearly to me today. The downloads poured in. And I was teaching my Pilates and yoga class. It was about 9:45 this morning. And all of a sudden, there was a massive crash, bang, at the front of my house. I jumped up, I opened the curtains, and outside my house, just to the right, was an overturned car on its side. And about 15 or 16 people standing in the road, some sweeping up the glass, some talking to each other, lots of mingling, lots of frantic energy, lots of chaotic, urgent energy. And I said, where is the person? Are they not alive? Bear in mind, I've still got my yoga class going on online as this was happening. And somebody said, no, it was a young man driving off to Sainsbury's to work. And he jumped out of the window once the car was on its side. And the car started smoking, and he jumped out the window. And I said, well, where is he? And a few people pointed, and the guy was sort of, from person to person, handed to me. And I took him, and I said, come and sit down in my home. He was beyond shell-shocked. He was in an absolute state of severe shock. And I took him. Can you hear me okay? Because can you let me know if you can hear me? Because I did a very powerful live this morning, and the sound didn't come out. Can you let me know, or give me a thumbs up or a heart if you can hear me? Because I don't want to tell this whole story if you can't hear me. You can hear me. Thank you. Thank you, Jane. Thanks for letting me know, because it's very frustrating, because I do this because I have to do this. There are a lot of other things I could be doing right now, but I feel that it is my duty to share this story. And those of you who are here to listen to this story will receive the gifts, the insights and the wisdom that you need to hear, if you can trust in that, and I know that you can. But this is kind of around what this transmission is about tonight, because when this 44-year-old man, I found out, wandered towards me after having jumped out of his car, which was on its side, and the street was full of people sweeping up the glass. I took him in and I sat him on a chair in my garden. I kissed him on his head and I said, "You were meant to be here. God is with you. Can I get you a cup of sweet tea?" And I went to make him a cup of tea and he was just in shock. Severe shock. And I gave him a cup of tea, and then fortunately I have a guy staying from Airbnb, a Malaysian guy, and I said, "Can you stay with him?" I'd already called the ambulance, but the police came in. So the police were coming into my garden as I went back to teach my yoga class. That was just what happened this morning. Stay with me if you want to hear a story. And I'm doing this for my own account as well, so I can keep this and remember this and maybe use this again, because it is powerful. So, after I finished teaching my class, my energy was very discombobulated. And I noticed that normally I would probably, when I feel like that, I would probably jump in the Land Rover. But my Land Rover is sitting outside, just right next to where this car flipped this morning. That's where my Land Rover is sitting, out on the drive. Normally, I would have got in my Land Rover and I would have probably gone and either gone for a dog walk with a friend, or a dog walk on my own, or gone for a coffee and just chatted to people, gone to the farmer's market, gone somewhere when I was feeling a little bit discombobulated, like it would sort of take my mind off feeling what I was feeling at the time. And so after watching or hearing and witnessing what happened this morning, and taking in this young man who'd been in this horrific car incident where, thank God, he didn't have a scratch on him, but he was absolutely shell-shocked. This is what happened. This is the... So later on today, I went out to take the dog for a walk, and the first thing I noticed was where the accident had happened, exactly on the same spot, there was a great big ambulance. And I was so surprised. So I said to the ambulance drivers, "Why are you here? This is exactly the spot where there was an accident this morning." And I called the ambulance this morning, but obviously it's all been sorted out now. And they said, "No, we're just here, not for that." And then they sort of weren't doing anything. There was no rush. They were relaxed. And I thought, anyway, I don't want to make it sound like I wasn't sure what they were doing, but it was just absolutely, I had to actually, the reason I'm half in this picture and half out is because right now I am half in this reality and half in this reality. And it is playing out of me. It is playing out in front of me at a rapid rate. And I believe it is for many of you as well, even if you don't quite realise it yet. This is really what I'm trying to say. So this ambulance was there in this exact spot. And I thought, okay, fine, I won't make too much of it. So I went on my way. I went on my dog walk. And when I was 3/4 of the way up the road, a man stopped his car with a dog, a little white dog. And he said to me something. He leaned out of the car and he started doing a little chat with the dogs. And I thought, oh, this is just someone who recognises me from somewhere, or he's just stopping to be friendly about the dogs. He was a bit older than me and lives around here, apparently. And he then said, He said, I saw what happened today. He said, I watched all those people. When the guy's car turned onto its side, everybody ran to the cars that had been slightly hit. And it was a good 3 or 4 minutes, no, maybe it was a good minute. I suppose it was a minute or two, even a minute, by the time I got out, because I was teaching. I did jump up and I said to this class, I'm going to have to go out and have a look. But by the time I got out there were about 15 people out there. Now, this isn't their fault, but nobody went to check on the guy that jumped out the car, who was in severe shock. So I brought him in. I took him into the garden because I was using the hall downstairs to do my class, my yoga class. I put the kettle on, I made him a cup of tea. I looked for the sugar. I don't have sugar. I was looking everywhere frantically for the sugar. This man was absolutely, severely shocked. So this man in the car, when he said this to me, he said, I couldn't believe it. I just broke down. This is what humanity has come to. And it's not people's fault. This is not about blame. This is about awareness. This is about awareness. So I thanked him and I went on my way. And I went across the road and I started walking back. Because by now the energies were feeling quite powerful. And I felt like I was walking through the Celestine prophecy. And then I met a neighbour. She's a young, beautiful girl. I've watched her grow up from teenager to young lady, young woman. And she saw me at my lowest point over Easter, when my studio had flooded. I was at my lowest point. Those of you who know the story, I don't want to go into the story, but I was at the lowest of the lowest of the low. And I went into Five Guys because I had pneumonia and I was staying in a hotel in the town and I had the dog to look after. And I went into this Five Guys and they wouldn't let me in with the dog, and then they would let me in, and I nearly collapsed at the counter, and it was her that was serving. And I said, oh, I didn't know you worked in here. She was just part-time. She saw me at my lowest. Fast forward 3 months, I'm back. I've been through that experience. It's September, I've moved on. I'm rebranding my whole business. I'm on point, and I am feeling highly, highly awakened and aware. And when we spoke, I told her the truth. And I also realised that every single magical encounter that I have had this week, this whole week that we've just been through, I have had some magical encounters with beautiful light beings. And the one thing that I have seen the theme to be has been the confidence to fully embody and embrace the magnificence of their being. And I know that is also a reflection. But it's time to step up. Whatever that looks like. And it might be the tiniest thing to everybody else, to your parents, to your children, to your best friends, to your loved ones, to your Facebook friends. It may be so radically true for you that at this moment you realise that the beliefs and the thoughts that have programmed you your whole life have been a story, have been a lie, have been your mind fibbing to you to keep you dumbed down, to keep you small, to make you obey the most ridiculous laws that could not be further than the truth from God's law. And this is how it feels to wake up and awaken more and become more aware of who you really are, and the ego and the mind and the programming and the beliefs that non-stop feed you with a resistance, a protection to fully shining your light. And so when I looked into her eyes, and I have never, yes, I've done it in circle, heart circle. Yes, I've been waking up slowly over the last 15 years or so, having always been a black sheep and the rebel, and knew that my story was just a story that I needed to play out in order to play out and be who I came here to be. I knew that. I knew I had those stories to play out. And so what the recent 10 months of the flood has now done for me is brought me to where I am right now. And I am seeing people just come into my life who have this incredible light. And they are not the ones who are vocal necessarily on, excuse me, I've got a runny nose and I'm teary. They are not the ones who are out there on Facebook or liking people's comments or in these different Facebook groups. They are the ones who maybe are not on social media, the ones that are holding the light in every town and city that we don't even know about, but we are starting to find each other. And so when at the end of this incredible day we met, and I said to her how saddened I was that when this guy was put into this severe shock from his car flipping on its side, and nobody took him and sat him down and made him a cup of tea until I did it whilst teaching a yoga class. To then have all of those things that happened, and then finally with this woman, it was like, if you've read the Celestine Prophecy, but it was like our eyes met, like we were completely, like we knew. I had to take her doubts away, and that's when I realised that there are so many people who are seriously awake, like with the light shining on. and they know when they go into teacher mode. They know, you know, like she said to me a few times, well, you know, everything's meant to be for a reason. And you could hear the bits that were the ego, the mind, and then it was like this awareness, yes, and the presence was just at one, because this light is so bright. This light is so bright that when you meet it, you will land even more deeply in your body each time, and it's speeding up. It's happening faster and faster and faster. Be aware of it. Just be aware of it. Don't put it to the side, because your job, my job, our job now is to keep on holding this light. Keep on choosing in every single now moment. Am I going to respond this way? Am I going to respond that way? I have had such huge guilt for not spending enough time with the dog whilst I've been rebranding my business. And this huge thing around guilt came up. Then I was walking along the street and I thought to myself, when was the last time I actually got connected to my very deeply sacred sexual energy in a way that was so embodied? And I realised it's been weeks, because I have been so focused on rebuilding something that felt like it fell apart, which has happened in the last year. And I felt all this guilt come up for not being with the dog. But then noticing the thoughts, noticing how we judge ourselves. This is the process for those of you who work at this level, will be very aware that constantly in every now moment there is a choice, there is a choice, there is a choice. And so I looked at, and we connected at this massive deep level, and I said we need to, I need to pull us together. I need to pull us together locally. Because just to finish up, when I went to Hartwood Forest very early this morning, about 8 o'clock this morning, Sunday morning, before my class, that's when it all started. This is where this whole story started. I did a whole live this morning, and this whole live was all about the chemtrails. Because when I looked up, I've never seen so many chemtrails in my life as this morning. And so I did a live on Facebook this morning, and I started talking to every single couple, because it was all couples. I started talking to every single couple that I walked past. Like, I didn't put their face in the live, but I made sure you could hear them. And I talked to about 7 different people, and what they actually had to say was fucking crazy, because none of them knew what they were. Like, none of them. One couple was like, they didn't care what it was. They were a younger couple. And then like a farmer guy, you know, this tall farmer guy, very posh sort of St Albansy person, said, oh yes, they're, you know, cloud formations or something like this. And I said, ah, okay. And then other people just never look up. And I was saying to everyone, you don't look up. And then there was a couple of young girls, and they were the only ones that are actually kind of open, because most of them never even look up. Oh yeah, oh, what's that then? What is it? It's aeroplanes, isn't it? And then one guy said, no, there's hundreds of aeroplanes everywhere. You can't see them all. They're right high in the sky. And I said, well, they never used to do that when I was little. I mean, and the whole thing was on mute. The whole thing was on mute. So I thought, right, okay, that's fine. I'm not meant to be reporting this stuff. I'm not meant to be reporting this negative shit. So I said, right, just come through me. Just move this energy through me. Give me to do what I need to do. And then the day just rolled on. If you've heard what happened, it's just been it's just been very, 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 very insightful into humanity and where we're at, and that those of us who are really shining our lights as brightly as we can are finding each other more quickly. And please have the confidence to reach out to people, because I have seen today how many people are, I won't use the word suffering, I will use the word how many people in this town where I live, because actually I felt like I should have been somewhere else. I wasn't, my frequency didn't match where I was today, physically where I was today. And it was very clear to see the final part of the story. Look, has anyone actually stuck with me for the whole story? I doubt very much if anyone has. But if anyone has stuck with the whole story so far, please say I in the comments, because genuinely, this video for me, I'm going to keep this and I'm going to have to listen to this, because this is powerful. So if anyone has listened to the whole thing, let me know. But I've now just remembered the final part. So me and this girl, literally, we met as like, and it was like we were just meeting from another lifetime. It's like we just remembered. And she's a young girl, so we have to like really stay in touch, and I feel there's locally something happening, big time. But whilst we were talking, I noticed that there was an Indian family. Now bear in mind that it was an Indian person that jumped out of his window from the car that was on its side. So I realised we were standing outside the house of an Indian family, and there were a few of them in the car, but then there was the man. The engine wasn't on, and the man was like cutting the hedges in the front garden, you see. And I thought, I just said, me and this girl were chatting for about 15 minutes. And I just said to her, let's move out of the way, because I'm not sure, but I think this family want to leave. And she said, no, she said, they're not ready to go yet. You know, the engine wasn't on or anything. And I looked at them and I said to this Indian family, I said, sorry, are we sort of in the way? Would you like us to move? Are you going out? Are you trying to go out? You know, are you trying to come out the drive? Oh, no. Anyway, I said to this girl, let's move out of the way. Well, as soon as we moved out of the way of their drive, he got in the car and they drove off. And as he came onto the drive, I put my hand on my heart and I had tears streaming down my face again. And I said, wow. I said, you were that patient that you didn't ask me if I could move off your drive on the pavement, but so that his car could get out, because the engine wasn't running. I hadn't noticed. And they had waited the whole time for us to move, but hadn't asked us to move. And I just thought, wow, I see so many humans. And I see it in the heart circles, because that's where I see, but I see it play out in life. How many humans are really not yet able or aware of how to ask for what we need, how to ask for what we need. So, you know me, I will read these messages afterwards, because it's a little bit dark in here. And I'm just really, really, thank you for just being here with me, because today has been enormously powerful. And if you can resonate with any of that, just let me know. And thanks for listening. And I'm going to go now, and I'm just going to meditate on what's happened today. Yeah. So much more to share. Lots of love.